Chosen One is a rather popular YouTube channel focused on documenting the homeless and less fortunate residents of Detroit, often featuring drug abusers, sex workers, and other outcasts of the community. The channel gives a very raw and dark look at the lives these people live day by day, and just this alone is beyond disturbing. We get a first-hand look at the lives of those who lost almost everything, scarred by addictions now out of their control and evidence of their hope buried away, wishing for some spark of a bright future to find a way into their cruel world.
If they don't live this life, they don't understand how hard this shit is.
One of the more tragic stories I've seen on this channel are from a set of reoccurring interviews with a couple named Jarrell and Maddie. First appearing on the channel around 2020, the two were like any other featured on the channel. They were homeless, abusing drugs, and tackling the world one day at a time. However, as the years continued, more interviews were released showcasing a promising and hopeful recovery. Both looked healthier and even described their battle overcoming drug abuse, with Jarrell being completely off heroin and Maddie nearly there. It was beyond a triumphant sight. We can even see in other videos that Maddie was preparing to enter rehab with the hope of even reuniting with their children. However, only a year later, things would be right back, if not worse, than where they were before. What you've witnessed was the cycle of drug abuse, an endless rotation of recovery and relapse being documented firsthand through dozens of stories across the streets of Detroit, Michigan. Some videos even tell you that they later perish, leaving you with a sour taste in your mouth after witnessing a struggling individual's final moments. However, throughout all the despair and grim tales featured on the channel, I did have one question. Who even was Chosen One? Who was this supposed speaker of Detroit's tragedies? It doesn't take much research to find that the owner of the channel goes by Tom, whose success is largely attributed to his subtle and neutral interview style, allowing the focus to be centered on the people and their stories. Because of this, he very often stays under the radar, with the quick impression initially leading most viewers to imagine him as a charitable man interested in video journalism. He even manages donation pages for the people he interviews and compensates them for telling their stories. However, as you begin to watch more, you can start to see some unusual red flags that might change your perception of the entire channel. He always tries to ensure his viewers know these interviews are consensual by asking for verbal confirmation that they're willing to appear in his YouTube channel. However, what most viewers don't know is that participants are only given $10 per interview. An outrageously low compensation to those most desperate is only made more problematic when you notice that some videos are taken directly after the participants get high off drugs.
You just shot some heroin, didn't you? You did.
In another upload, now titled An Ethical and Moral Dilemma, should this video be up, we watch an interview of a woman named Kelly who died shortly after, to which her family requested the video be removed. They didn't want her story to be memorialized by this, however Tom declined, stating that she already accepted and would probably want it to stay up. I'm sorry, but who the hell does Tom think he is to say he has a better understanding of what Kelly would have wanted over her own family? He promises these people the option of removing videos if they're no longer comfortable with them being online, however has shown time and time again his hesitation and resistance to doing so.
You take that video down of, in the band up.
What part is bad?
Where I said how you can get in.
I mean, is there something I can edit out of there?
Really, I prefer it just be took down.
There's also been comments from accounts supposedly belonging to people featured in his videos claiming that Tom no longer cares about their needs once they get clean, further supporting the idea that these interviews could be coming from a place of entertainment. I was honestly taken aback by such a whiplash of intentions that I decided to look deeper into this account, and it seems many have issues with Tom's supposedly charitable acts. There's a catalog of accusations against him, withholding donation money, wire fraud, and even encouraging a child to smoke.
Well, I want to see you do it. Smoke it like a cigarette. Like it was the last one you had. Yeah, that's it.
The paper trail just continued to stack up. However, there was one accusation that was inarguably the most disturbing of them all. There was over a dozen women who died within a year of being interviewed on the Chosen One channel. These were a collection of women who were from a variety of ages, some living on the streets for over a decade. However, there seems to be an unnerving pattern of deaths that occur soon after they get interviewed by Tom. Many people speculate that Tom may actually be more involved in these deaths than we think, theorizing he might be a serial killer fueled by anger and aggression that he takes on some of the women he meets on the street. I personally think that this theory is severely slander and an immense overreaction. There's little to no evidence that he has any direct connection to their fates. However, my personal belief is that through Tom's videos, killers and aggressors get first-hand information on where some of these women are located. Neither Tom nor the people he interviews have enough discretion to ensure their already compromised safety. Very personal details are often released in these videos, and to those looking to prey on the vulnerable and easily pursuable homeless residents of Detroit, this channel is practically a goldmine. Taking a second look at the channel now, there's a very gray and disturbing undertone that resides in the whole thing. There's been no direct verdict on if any of these accusations or theories are true. However, to me, it seems the Chosen One is a combination of those looking to gain, those with nothing to lose, and those who hide in the shadows, ready to take advantage of those turned away from society. Starting in 1988, American broadcaster Art Bell created and hosted an American late-night radio talk show named Coast to Coast AM, running several nights a week from 1 to 5 in the morning. The show primarily discussed conspiracies, pseudoscience, and other aspects of paranormal activity, giving a somewhat eerie and fitting narration for late-night adventures. They would often take call-ins and invite special guests to participate in interesting discussions, promoting various opinions and intrigue from across the country. It was very interactable, and didn't take long for Coast to Coast to become one of the most famous talk shows for late-night radio, eventually finding itself broadcasting across 500 stations to an audience of nearly 10 million people. Ears all over the country were tuned in all throughout the night, and you never really knew who might call in, and even more uncertain of who just might be listening. On September 11th of 1997, Art spoke with his audience about Area 51 and aliens, discussing various conspiracy theories, urging anyone who might have any personal accounts or insider knowledge to call in and share their stories. Nothing seemed unusual, and the night continued as if it was any other normal broadcast. However, deep into the night, as the program began to wind down, a final caller would be accepted, and relay a message that would strike fear in millions of late-night listeners. This is what was broadcasted that night.
Line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art.
Yes.
Hi. I don't have a whole lot of time.
Well, look, let's begin by finding out whether you're using this line properly or not.
Area 51.
Yeah, that's right. Were you an employee or are you now?
A former employee.
Former employee.
I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and I've kind of been running across the country. Oh man, I don't know where to start. They're gonna they'll triangulate on this position really soon.
So you can't spend a lot of time on the phone. So give us something quick.
Okay. Okay, what we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra-dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the military, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now, Art.
But they're not doing anything.
They are not. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
Discharge.
I started getting...
The broadcast was then cut from the air. Whatever this man was trying to say, whatever knowledge of extra-dimensional beings he held and the fear of what might come was cut short by something of the unknown. You can theorize the legitimacy of his claims in any way you choose, whether he was actually a whistleblower or just the byproduct of the mentally ill. However, one thing that can't be explained is how the broadcast got taken off the air at seemingly the perfect time. It occurred during what would be the exposure of one of the most top secret facilities in the United States. Whoever was listening didn't want the world to hear what this man had to say. To make matters more confusing, about 7 months later, a man called back, claiming to be the same person from that night. This is what he had to say.
Everybody, I am the Area 51 caller. That's my statement, and let you or whatever tear it apart.
You claim you're the Area 51?
I am the man.
How do you account for the fact, Area 51 caller,
Okay.
that part of the way through your spiel, the satellite went down?
I have no idea, and it scared the heebie-jeebies out of me that night. I've called a number of times on your specialty line nights doing different, kind of wacky characters, and that's all that one was supposed to be. And if the call had been completed, it would have been ancient history by now.
Has it occurred to you, as Barbara Marx Hubbard suggested tonight, that perhaps, if you're really what you say you are, you created the reality of the rest of the situation and took down my satellite?
That scares the heebie-jeebies out of me because it means that what I was saying was somehow correct, and it was fabrication, kind of
creating a reality.
Apparently, it was all one big joke that spiraled out of control after a coincidental broadcast malfunction. He even attempts to prove his identity by acting out the same nervous voice he so convincingly used that night. However, listen to the two side by side.
The major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable. I don't want you to ask me to do this. If I start doing that guy,
Although the two voices do sound similar, many people speculate whether this was even the same person. His voice sounds slightly deeper, and the fear he had in the first call, the frantic outbursts of dread and hysteria as you hear the radio connection begin to crack. That's not something you replicate. He's either an incredibly talented actor, or this was not the same person. It's also odd that he chose to call 7 months later. Why not call directly back after the line cut, or the next day, or even the next week? Waiting 7 months is oddly suspicious for no reason. He claims he was scared after the occurrence, not being able to explain himself why the broadcast cut. So the delay could have possibly been from that and maybe some fear of what might happen if he called back. However, most aren't convinced. They believe the man who originally called was someone truly knowledgeable of undisclosed activity occurring at Area 51. And after getting disconnected from the air, was killed or imprisoned, only to be impersonated months later, in a desperate attempt to tie an ever so mysterious and unnerving loose end. Whether you believe this to be true or not, the bottom line is no one knows why the broadcast cut when it did. Even if the caller was just playing a practical joke, maybe his make-believe claims and the activity occurring at Area 51 has more legitimacy than we might imagine. Whoever was listening, they didn't want us to hear what was about to be broadcasted. And that might be more terrifying than any practical joke that could possibly have been made.
This fetal skeleton was sold to us by a doctor from NYU. We just got this pediatric skull into the showroom, and the second unique exploded skull that we just got into the showroom.
John Bones, aka John Ferry, is a bone collector who documents his substantial and plentiful collection of skeletal remains throughout his social media account, the Bone Museum. All over his TikTok, you can find various videos showcasing real human skulls, femurs, tibias, and even spines decorating the walls as if they were curtains. He seems fascinated by the different aspects of the skeleton, finding intrigue in the destruction of bones caused by different diseases, and just generally the preservation of Bones himself. I guess we all have our own hobbies, and Bones just so happens to be his. Besides her personal belief and the moral tightrope on whether collecting bones is ethical or not, John doesn't seem to have any odd or nefarious intent behind his collection, at least on the surface. He approaches his social media in a very educational manner, showcasing why his skeletal remains appear the way they do, and if you can look past the eeriness of collecting bones, you can learn quite a lot from his channels. However, his true intent has been faced with much speculation. Linked on all of his social media accounts is a website named johnbones.com, an avenue for viewers themselves to purchase a bone from his collection. With just a click of a button, you yourself can buy a skull. Sorting between real human remains, you can add items to your cart as if you were browsing an Amazon catalog for Christmas. If I'm being honest, it feels inhuman, shopping for body parts. There seriously is a sense of dread clicking through this entire website, despite its bright color and attractive branding. Although many opinions may differ, I do acknowledge that the sale of bones has to happen one way or another. As long as it's sourced ethically, bones can be an incredible educational tool, and selling to medical facilities and colleges will undoubtedly aid in saving the lives of millions. When you look past the conscious side of things, once we're gone, how much do these bones really matter? Are you really shopping for parts for humans still? As mentioned extensively, John raises the importance of education on a pedestal when marketing these bones. The Museum of Bones is literally a museum of bones, where interested parties can make visits to appreciate John's extensive collection. However, it hadn't always been this way. Back when John first started, he wasn't managing his bones through a museum. They were literally decorations in what appeared to be his house. At one point on the website, you could learn more about John and his past, stating that he was a product designer with education from the Parsons School of Design, and the extent of his education surrounding bones and osteology was purely from self-interest. He was an artist, and you can even find reference to this motivation deeper on his TikTok, where it seems at one point, the purpose of the account was heavily shifted towards artistic design. Almost all reference to this has been reworked or completely omitted from the website, which raises some concerns. Without touching the concept of the ethics behind using remains as a purpose for art, it's not the most reassuring thing that John seems to be covering up some of the more controversial uses for his sales. I decided to look online to see if anybody else had any opinions regarding John's line of work, and I found something unnerving to say the least. On a Reddit AMA, John Ferry actually created a post asking for questions for those interested in his line of work. The response was unexpected. There was controversy after controversy littering the comments of the post. Claims that his experts in osteology were heavily underqualified, stories of skulls from indigenous tribes that he sold bones from, and the fact that the source of all his bones came from the unknown. Not entirely from the unknown, and this isn't directly at the fault of John, but they were bones that came from the medical bone trade, a controversial operation that often collected bones from India, China, and Russia. The bones are usually anonymous and can often come from sources of tragedy. Imagine you died with no family to identify you, and your remembrance will forever lie as bones shipped across country, memorialized as ornaments hanging from a rich man's necklace. After understanding this, it starts to become a little more unnerving that these bones are just up for sale at the cost of thousands of dollars. John has also been found saying that he does profit off these bones, making the entire operation suddenly seem a lot less ethical. There's even a section on the website to sell bones to John, to to which no paperwork or license is even required? What stories lie on the walls of John's apartment? What lives were lived and are now forever remembered as simple decoration pieces? Although something is legal, doesn't mean you should. I'm sorry, but I can't see John's operation and website as something that isn't deeply unethical and wildly disturbing.